Have you ever thought of quitting your day job and traveling across the world?
I'm not living life anymore.
There's this fear of what if this doesn't play out the way I want it to play out.
Your whole life becomes surrounded with stuff that has really no meaning.
The biggest barrier for a lot of people is,
hey, if I can do that, well then I can say yes to other things that are outside of my comfort zone.
Many of us dream of dropping out of the rat race. We want to stop climbing the career ladder and instead find ways to spend more time doing things that we love. But how do we actually manage to do that? There are already a lot of resources out there about the logistical path that you can take to do that. Quit your job, start making passive income, and find a way to make money online. But what about the mindset behind it? How does one build the confidence and awareness to actually take that first step? Well, in this video, I'll be in two locations, Bangkok, Thailand, and Osaka, Japan, to interview a series of people who have successfully done just that. I'll be asking them about how they did it, the biggest lessons they've learned from their decisions, why most people with the same desires won't pull the trigger, and their action plans for anybody who's ready to take the jump.
Why are you in Osaka? How did you get here?
turned 22, just graduated college. Here I knew that I wanted to live in Japan specifically. Started working at school, teaching, getting to meet a lot of people, slowly learned Japanese, made a lot of friends. Every day I got to learn something new, basically.
I visited here in 2019 for the first time, and then my uncle had started a YouTube channel because of the pandemic, and I was working a job back in Canada in downtown Toronto, and I called him up. His YouTube channel was just starting to grow, and I had said, dude, like, you know, you can start to build some really cool things around this channel. And he had just retired, wanted to focus on the video side, and was nice enough to say, if you want to come over here and give it a crack and see what we can do, do it. So I quit my what I was doing in Toronto and got a one-way ticket over here.
I've been working in the film and TV industry for, I guess, almost over 20 years. So originally moved to LA to kind of chase my dreams. That sort of led me from one thing to another, and then ultimately ended up getting a job for Netflix to come out and run their post-production department and help start up their studio for all original content in Asia. After I left my job, I decided it was time to come to Thailand and spend time. My friend had took me here about, 12 years ago for the first time, and I fell in love with Thailand and just thought it's a place I keep coming back to.
Well, I work remotely, so I decided to come to Asia for a little bit, and the cheapest flight would happen to come to Bangkok.
Oh, you could have gone anywhere?
Could have gone anywhere, but for some reason, the airport here is the cheapest, so.
Okay, and what do you do for a living?
I work in software.
I studied abroad for like 3 months in Kyoto and stayed with the host family. The mistake I made was I went to Kyoto, and Kyoto's, if you've ever been there, it's like a very beautiful place and very, very charming. I just fell in love with Japan from there. And then after I finished college, I had decided already I was just going to move to Japan and just figure it out.
Was it hard to make the decision to come on over here?
Not hard, because I knew deep down that this is something that I wanted to do and would regret not doing. I just said yes to it and, figured let the chips fall where they may.
So we've grown up together. We've known each other for over 20 years. We've both been living here for a few months, and we decided mutually that we were going to kind of pack up our stuff. My main issue and reason for leaving my previous situation in life is I just didn't know what I wanted, and I didn't know what that would look like, and I wanted to fulfill this dream of living somewhere else to hopefully figure everything out.
I had to make the very tough decision of abandoning my business, kind of letting that go and focusing purely on searching for my purpose, and I felt that a change in environment was really necessary to do that.
What's the point? Well, anybody can do a 180 in life, no matter your income or your age. The common similarity between all of us is that we're all fed up, and we chose to do something about that. How many of you are fed up? But more importantly, how many of you are fed up and are actually going to do something about it?
Why do you think you were able to take the risk of moving out here, starting a completely new life, and basically doing it alone, right? Why were you able to do that, and why are most people not able to do that?
I think there's a certain element of comfort that people like, and then I also think there's this fear of what if this doesn't play out the way I want it to play out.
I think most people feel safe, with the routine. You get up a certain time, you go to work, they see the same people every day, they come home and they turn on fucking streaming Netflix, and then probably drink a glass of wine, go to bed. Your whole life becomes surrounded with stuff that has really no meaning and doesn't actually contribute to anything productive in your life, or like productive, especially to happiness.
If you try something that's risky or you really want to make that move, but you're scared of it not working out. The way I see it is, well, you've learned a ton of stuff. You've probably met a ton of new cool people. People are everything. And then in my eyes, that's still a success.
What drives people to leave their life, the current lifestyle that they have, and to restart something new in a new country that's completely foreign to them?
Well, honestly, it was the second wave of lockdowns during the pandemic. Yeah, too much of it. Yeah, I was like, Mexico's open, I'm going there.
I think I was spending a lot of time, especially during the pandemic, sitting in one room in front of a computer most of my life. I had spent maybe 3 years almost doing that, and I thought, I'm not living life anymore. I need to try something different and get out of this monotonous sort of routine.
It's the idea of just like new frontier, restarting, reinventing yourself, going into a place where you don't know anything. You don't know anybody. Sometimes you don't even know the language.
I think most people probably just get fed up with doing the same thing every day, and they just collect so much shit. Even people can be kind of like a distraction from doing stuff because, you know, people can hold you back by saying things or having conversations or not being productive in any way to you moving forward. And a lot of people have these really strong bonds with their friends, and I think maybe sometimes those things become inhibitors for you to be able to do and move on.
There will probably be some argument about how privileged every single interviewee must have been in order to make and act on their decision. And that's true, but that privilege isn't financially. It's the privilege of being exposed to the world at a young age.
What has travel done for you, and what can it do for someone?
The obvious is it opens your mind.
It forces you to leave your comfort zone and adapt to a lot of different situations where you may not be comfortable. It really forces you to trust in other people around the world.
For me, the biggest thing is it's given me this sense of confidence that didn't exist before. Specifically moving to Bangkok, that was nerve-wracking. That was a little bit scary. Didn't have any friends over here, didn't really know anybody. I think that just gave me this sense of confidence that, hey, if I can do that, well then I can say yes to other things that are outside of my comfort zone.
Kind of opened my life a little bit, like opened my eyes to seeing that every culture does something a little differently. And then like opening your world to seeing that there's actually like better ways to do things sometimes. It's not always best in your country. Not always worst, but it's not always best either, right?
When you're able to kind of just go out and meet other people and actually interact and connect with people all over the world, that's probably the most important lesson that you'll ever get. Because also it's someone that you can actually like connect with and be friends with and learn from for as long as you want, basically.
My parents brought me to different places around the world from a young age. Places I don't remember much about, and from my memory, most of the places I didn't even want to go to. But as the years went on and life got more and more serious, those memories kept echoing in the back of my brain. And when I settled into my own version of the path of least resistance, when I agreed to take a high-paying banking job right out of college, even though I knew I was going to hate that job, every day when I would sit at the desk, those thoughts were ringing inside my head. But the truth is, the age that you are exposed to the world at, it doesn't matter. Because as of right now, we're all starting from a blank slate. This is day one of your new journey. So how are you going to make it happen?
Just go out, meet people, have fun with them, don't have an agenda or anything, and just have a good time.
I lived a lot of my life thinking about what I wanted in the future, right? Or like how I'm gonna get to the thing that I always want. Whether that be like, I'm gonna get a better job that I'm gonna want, I'm gonna be happy when I get that job. And it would get there and it would go, I don't know if that was really what I wanted. Now I want another thing. I think maybe that's what they call the rat race, right? You just like get caught up in that for over and over. And so not realizing sooner that I could actually just live the life I want now.
But what advice would you give to someone who was in that similar position? Because there's a lot of people in the world who are in a job that they're not completely satisfied with and would love to live that kind of nomadic lifestyle that you have right now. How do you get to that point?
I mean, I think it's about trying to take a little bit of a chance on yourself. One of the things that gave me the most freedom to be able to do that is being a person that doesn't spend every bit of their money on things, right? I save a little bit because that gives me the freedom to be able to have my own time as my own and to be able to think like, you know what, I could take a pay cut. I can not have to make as much money. I cut down to 2 suitcases. Literally, those are the only things I own. They can fit in 2 suitcases.
What advice would you give to someone who probably is feeling the same feelings as you of wanting to get out into the world and live remotely and do that kind of lifestyle, but is too afraid to pull the trigger?
Move away from that mindset of traveling just for vacation and actually try living somewhere else as a local. I know a lot of people that took that first step and say, this is not for me, and they went back. And then people like myself, after that first step, they never looked back. One of the biggest decisions I've made in my life.
Is there a way to do it?
Buy the plane ticket.
To start, you got to connect yourself with real people, people that have experiences that you can learn from. I knew what it was like to live abroad to a certain degree, and then I had met people who had been from, all around the world, people who had moved to a different place from all around the world. Everything becomes more real once you meet someone who's doing it. I think that the biggest barrier for a lot of people is they can't imagine it. But if you know someone who's doing it or who has done it, you don't need to imagine it. It's right.
Yeah,
they're already there. You can just ask them.
If you focus your attention on a goal and then you have a bigger target at the end, but that thing's like almost impossible to achieve, you put those little steps in the way, you'll eventually get closer and closer to it. And I think living here, the major thing I learned is that even if at the beginning it's super frustrating, you know it will get less frustrating over time.
I do think that traveling, I wouldn't even recommend it. I think it's necessary for everybody, whether you think you need it or you don't, because you're opening yourself up to a new culture, but you're also putting yourself in a new environment. And that new environment is what's going to allow you to think differently. We're always stuck thinking the same way every single day. What if we tried thinking differently? It'll completely change the way you see the world and what you might need to do next.
Up until this trip, I'd never truly fully understood the world of digital nomadism. I've never understood how life abroad could potentially be better than life in the greatest countries in the world in North America. And yet these people all show how for some of us, it could be. Whether or not you are one of those people though, can only be determined by you going out into the world and seeing for yourself.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, then you're definitely gonna like this video right here. If you haven't already subscribed, please make sure to do that now. I'm Will, and as always, it's a mindset.